All right, let's talk about layout. We use layout to create UI that is shared between multiple pages. Earlier in the course, we talked about the root layout that is inside the app folder. Let's have another quick look here. So this root layout defines the common UI for all our pages. So here we're returning the HTML and body elements. And inside the body, we are rendering the children, which can be a page at runtime. So this is the root layout. Now we can also create nested layouts. For example, if all our admin pages need a particular layout, we can create a custom layout for our admin area. Let me show you how. So here in the app folder, let's create another folder called admin. In the admin folder, first we add a layout file. Make sure to spell it properly, all in lowercase, because this is one of the special files that Next.js router looks for. Now, just like before, the extension can be JS, JSX, or TSX. Now here we create a React component. We call this admin layout. Now, a layout component should have children of type React Node. So here we define an interface for our props. We say children is of type React Node. Okay, then we add the props. We destructure it right away and render it here. Now, in this component, we define the common UI for all our admin pages. For example, let's say in our admin area, we want to have a sidebar on the left. So let's add a div here. Inside this div, we add another div for our sidebar. We could also use the side element in HTML. This is more semantic. So here we add admin sidebar, where we can have a bunch of links and other stuff. On the right side, we want to have the content area. So we add a div, and inside this div, we render our children, which can be any of the admin pages. Now to style this, we're going to use Tailwind. So on the parent container, we apply class name. Here we're going to use flex, and by default, the direction of flex is row. So now we are defining a row with 2 columns. Now for our first column, let's set class name to, I'm going to apply a very light gray background. So bg-slate 200. I also want to give it a padding of 5 and a right margin of 5. So margin right 5. Now to see this in action, here in the admin folder, we add a new page file. Let's call this admin homepage. And I want to add a space here. That's better. So let's go back to the browser and head over to admin. There you go. So now all our admin pages have a sidebar on the left. So to recap, the root layout that we have in the app folder defines the common UI for all our pages, whereas the layout that we have in the admin folder defines the common UI for all our admin pages. Now here's a little exercise for you. I want you to add a navigation bar to all our pages. It's very simple. It's going to take only a couple minutes. All right, because the navigation bar is common to all pages, we should implement it in the root layout. So in here, in the body element, we want to add a navigation bar. I prefer to implement it in a separate component and use it here because I don't want to pollute the structure of this component. I want to keep it nice and clean. So here in the app folder, we add a component, navbar.tsx. We could also put it in the components folder, but as I said before, I prefer to use this as a repository for shared components. In this case, we only need the navigation bar in our root layout, so I put it next to our root layout, okay? So let's create a React component. Now to style this, again, we're going to use Tailwind. So we use flex again. So we can lay out our items horizontally. Now in the navbar, first we want to add a link and set the href to the root of the website. In a real-world application, this is where we render the logo. For now, let's just add Next.js. Now we can give this a class of margin right 5 to separate it from the links we add after. For our links, we just want to add the user's link. So let's add another link. Here we set href to /users. Now back to our layout. Before we render our children, first we render our navbar. And then we can render children in the main area. That is more semantic HTML. So we render children right here. Okay, this is the final structure. Let's test our application. So here's our navigation bar. Currently, it doesn't have any style. So let's go back to our navbar component and give this main container some style. I'm going to give it the same background color, BG Slate 200. That's better. Now we have this padding in the body element that we added in our global style sheet. Let's remove it. So we go to global CSS and remove this padding. Good. All right, that is better. We can also apply a padding to our navigation bar. So back to our navbar component. Here's our container. Let's give it a padding of 5. That's better. Now this navigation bar exists on all pages. So whether we are on admin or users, we can still see this navigation bar. The only issue that we have here is that the main area currently doesn't have any padding. So let's go back to our root layout and apply some Tailwind classes here. We can give it a padding of 5. That's better. So if you click on Next.js, we should go to the home page. There you go. If you click on users, we go to the users page. Now, one last thing before we finish this lesson. Currently, our heading, our h1 element, is rendered without any styles because by default, when we use Tailwind, our elements are unstyled. So back to our global style sheet. Look on the top, we have 3 directives to import 3 layers in Tailwind: base, components, and utilities. Now we're going to use another directive for overriding the styles in the base layer. So we type layer base. In the base layer, we can define styles for plain HTML elements like h1, h2, and so on. So for our h1, we're going to use another directive that is apply. And here we can apply any of the Tailwind classes. For example, we can use font medium or bold. That's better. Now take a look. Our h1 is now thicker. We can make it extra bold and larger. So we use text 2x large. Okay, that's more decent. We can also give it a bottom margin. So margin bottom 3. Okay, it's decent. So now all our h1 elements have this style.